Hi, friends. Welcome back to the Run Strong Run podcast. We are officially 1 week out from the California International Marathon, my favorite weekend of the entire running year. I've run CIM 7 times. I've paced it and I've been an ambassador for it. So I've cheered it, I've lived it and breathed it. And today I wanted to do something special. I'm counting down the seven moments from CIM that changed me as a runner, a pacer, and honestly, as a human. So if you're running this year, whether you're chasing a PR or you're chasing that first finish line, first marathon finish line, I hope today feels like a warm hug and a pep talk wrapped into one. And if you're not running CIM this year, I hope this gives you a little peek into why this race has such a big piece of my heart. So let's start in no particular order. Number one moment for CIM. That is my first CIM, California International Marathon finish. That was in 2016. So, give you a little backstory. If you don't know, I started running in 2011 after staying on the sidelines of a marathon, cheering on some friends. That same marathon that I was cheering for in 2011, I ended up running the next year in 2012 as my very first marathon. So, yes, I went from 0 to 26.2 miles in a year or a little bit less than a year. Actually, episode one of the Run Strong Run podcast talks more about this story about my first marathon. So be sure to go give that a listen. But CIM, my first year was 2016 because I came home from Mexico in 2000, the summer of 2012. I think I looked into CIM of 2012 too late. It was already sold out, or maybe I didn't even know about CIM yet. Crazy enough, because like it's practically my hometown. I live a little north of Sacramento. 2013, I didn't run it. 2014, 2015. So it wasn't until 2016, which 2016 was a big year for me. That's actually the year that holds my marathon PR, which was set in the spring of 2016. So I wasn't really as well trained for the marathon that December of 2016. Even though I wasn't very well trained, I still ran a pretty good time for myself of 4 hours and 35 minutes, if I'm remembering correctly, somewhere around there. Similar to my very first marathon finish line, which was about 4 hours 35. Honestly, my PR is not that far off. My PR is about 4:28. So still working on getting that marathon finish time faster. But right now I'm enjoying pacing back of the pack. But anyways, my first CIM finish line in 2016, I realized, wow. I can see why CIM is world famous. It's a point-to-point course, net downhill, start in Folsom, end in Sacramento, the state capitol building. What better place to end than this beautiful building, Sacramento, California's state capitol. So I fell in love with the course, the energy, and the magic. That is CIM. And that first finish is the moment that started everything else I'm about to share. This brings us to moment two of memorable parts of CIM. That was becoming a CIM ambassador. So after that first finish line of 2016, I was like, okay, I need more of CIM in my life. I need to tell everyone they need to run CIM. So I became a CIM ambassador because really 2016 is also when I found like the online world of running, early 2016. So come to 2017, I was already like 1 year into Instagram and my blog and everything else. So I became an ambassador. I wanted to share my love of CIM with everyone. And a part of that too, of being a CIM ambassador, is I got to also mentor first timers. So CIM used to have a free program. I think it's now a little bit different, but back in 2017, they had a free first timers program that if you were running CIM as your very first marathon, you could join this first timers group. Of everyone else who was running their very first marathon. And in fact, you got a finish line medal that said like my first marathon, in addition to the finisher medal. Well, so there were people in the first timers group who were concerned about meeting that 6 hour cutoff. So I actually volunteered in 2017 to unofficially be a 6 hour pacer. CIM at that time, their last pace group was 5 hours and 20 minutes. And so I, at that time, had started pacing marathons. I started pacing in 2016. Again, that's a big year for me. But in 2017, I was an unofficial 6 hour pacer and even had sign on my hydration pack that said unofficial 6 hour pacer. Shout out to Tanya, who was the one that I was pacing for that 6 hour finish. It was a special year because I also had my husband and my kids, and we had an exchange student that we were hosting at the time, and they were all there at the finish line to cheer me on. So that was very exciting. So I was a CM ambassador in 2017, 2018. 2019, and then, of course, COVID hit. But this brings us to 2021. Moment number three was officially joining the CIM PACE team in 2021. So at that point, I had run CIM in 2016, 2017. I didn't run it in 2018 because I actually gave birth to my first child just a few days before race day in 2018. In 2019, I ran the race as like a postpartum comeback race. And then in 2020, we know that the whole world shut down. So CIM was a virtual in 2020. And then 2021, this is moment number three. Are you ready? What happened in 2021? Maybe you know this, maybe you don't. I have a blog post about it, so I'll be sure to link this in the show notes. But in 2021, I became a member of the official PACE team, probably honestly one of my proudest running accomplishments. So how this came to be is I was at the CIM kickoff party because usually they have a kickoff party in August, early August, to kick off like the 16-week training program leading then up to CIM. So I was at the official kickoff event volunteering because I think I was an ambassador still that year in 2021. And I was talking to Piper Ruiz about I was talking to Piper about how I was the unofficial 6 hour pacer in 2017. And the next thing you know, I'm getting an email from Scott Abbott, executive race director of the California International Marathon, as well as Sacramento Running Association. And he said, "Thank you so much for volunteering to be 6 hour pacer. Welcome to the PACE team." And I was just like, what? I was like so excited and elated, but also like, oh my goodness, can I do this? Because at the time, I was like 6 weeks postpartum, post C-section from my second child, who was born in July of 2021. And I was like, oh my goodness, like, can I be pacing ready by December? I had planned to run the race, but to run the race yourself and to pace it are like two completely different experiences. So in 2021, I did it. I was celebrating being postpartum with my second child, celebrating being on the official PACE team, and it was just like a dream. I actually, in my running room, treadmill room, metal room here at my house, I actually have a frame with my bib from 2021, the bib that says Pacer, and the official race photos from 2021, because that was just such an incredible experience to bring representation to the back of the pack, to loudly proclaim all runners count from the front to the back, because CIM is known as a fast course, and there's people there who are working hard to earn their BQ or even OTQ time. But I want to say that like the people in the back of the pack, they count too, right? From the front to the back, all runners count. So I was pacing solo that year. And again, it was just so magical. And again, I have a whole blog post that talks more about that race experience. So that was moment number three. This brings us to moment number four, related to that first pacing experience, because in 2021, we meaning like myself and the runners in my pace group, we met a boy named Benny, who I believe at that time was only 9 years old. He had, I think, only had run like 7 miles maximum before showing up to this marathon starting line. And that was just really crazy that I felt like myself and along with the runners around us really picked up Benny as like kind of our kid in a sense. Like we were like, "Hey Benny, here comes up a aid station. Make sure you're staying hydrated. Make sure you're fueling and all of that." Because he started out with his dad, but his dad at some point on the course like dropped out or something. And so then Benny was left with us to run this marathon. But he did it. He crossed that finish line successfully, Benny, in 2021, with the help of myself and the runners around us, encouraging him to make it that 26.2 miles. But I just remember he was wearing like this shirt that was like too big. His shoes didn't really look like proper marathon shoes. But what's so fun is that next year in 2022, I saw him back at CIM. And so I love that just sparked in him this this joy of running marathons. And so I love that I get to meet all of these generations of people running marathons. It's so inspiring. And it's just a reminder of the back of the pack is full of world-class heart and people. It's amazing. So similarly, so we have Benny, who is 9 years old, but in 2021, this brings us to moment number 5. I got to meet CIM streaker, which doesn't mean he's running with all his clothes off. It means he's run every single CIM since 1984. Top 5 Moment number 5, top memories of CIM is meeting CIM streaker Bruce Mauldin in 2021. I remember distinctly Bruce coming up to me on the course and said something funny and introduced himself. And I just felt like, oh my goodness, Bruce, I think you should be the one pacing, not me. Again, I just felt like such a baby marathoner compared to Bruce Mauldin, who's run every CIM race since 1984. He's run ultras, and I actually got to interview him on the Run Strong Run podcast in episode number 2. So I'll be sure to link that in the show notes, or you click back and you give it a listen. His story is just so inspiring. He's run like multiple sub 3 hour marathons, if I'm not mistaken. And now he is years wiser and he does one marathon a year, and that's CIM to keep his streak alive. I think there's only like now 4 remaining CIM streakers, which means they've run every CIM since 1984. And Bruce is one of those people. And so I got to meet him in 2021 and I ran with him in 2021, 2022, 23, 24. And for my 5th year, I'm getting ready to run with him again very soon, 1 week away at CIM 2025. And I cannot wait. So in 2023, it was actually really cool because I actually got finished the race in 2023, but then turned around and went back out for Bruce because something happened at about mile 23 or so, and he fell off our pace group. And I was like, I'm determined to bring Bruce across that finish line. So we ended up finishing at like 6:09, and that was just such a special moment to go back and to bring Bruce into the finish line. But you can hear more about Bruce again in episode 3 of the Run Strong Run, or excuse me, you can hear more about Bruce in episode 2 of the Run Strong Run podcast. Bruce, love you. I look forward to seeing you soon at CIM. So this brings us to moment number 6 of CIM, speaking on the CIM expert panel. Yes, I remember when I was first asked to speak on the expert panel, and I was like, am I an expert? Even though I've now run CIM 7 times, I still don't feel like I'm an expert per se, right? Because I have these people who have run CIM 10 plus years more than me. But it was just such an honor and a joy. I believe I spoke on the expert panel in 23, definitely in 24, but I think it was maybe it was even 2022. I can't remember exactly which years, but getting to speak on the expert panel at the expo to represent the pace team and the back of the pack runners and to loudly proclaim all runners count literally on a stage at the California International Marathon Expo was just like such an amazing experience. So grateful to the Sacramento Running Association, to Scott Abbott for inviting me to speak on the CIM expert panel. And in fact, I've been asked back on the CIM expert panel. I'll be there on Friday at the expo from 2 to 3 p.m. So stop by and listen if you'll be in town or around. As Scott Abbott, Executive Race Director, moderates the expert panel. And last year, I remember sitting on the panel with like CJ Albertson, who won the race in 2023, and like to be sitting next to people such as CJ Albertson or Brent, who is a running coach and amazing marathoner himself, and some Fleet Feet coaches, to be sitting among these people. I just felt like, oh my goodness, I feel so like a little fish in this big pond. But again, just such an honor to be back of the pack pacer, loudly proclaiming all runners count and to tell people in the audience, if this is your first marathon, you are prepared to have such an amazing day. I love getting to be at the expo before race day to get to meet people. When people come up to me and say, Steph, I've been following you. I'm just so grateful to meet you. It just means the world to me because sometimes as I'm creating content, it's sometimes hard because you're like, who am I actually speaking to? So when you get to put a face in real life to the people that your content is speaking to, that means the world to me. So be sure to find me at the CIM Expo on Friday, speaking at the expert panel from 2 to 3 p.m. And then I'll also be at the expo on Saturday, volunteering in the pace booth. Stop by, say hi, get a sticker from me that says all runners count. And that's your reminder that yes, you are a runner. You belong at CIM and you count. Okay. Are you ready? Seventh top moment of CIM, and that is going to be dedicated to just the start line energy, my expo encounters. I'm gonna mix in lots of things here. So Starline Energy, Expo Encounters, and then also I have to give a shout out to my parents coming and meeting me on the course in 2023. That was actually my dad's first time seeing me run a marathon. It was my 35th marathon for CIM, or not. It was actually my dad's first time seeing me run a marathon. It was my 35th marathon, CIM 2023. And it was just so amazing. My parents were actually on their bikes. They started the finish line and rode backwards on the course. And they got to find me and my pace group about mile 23. They had signs that said like run, strong, run, all runners count, 6 hour power. And that was just so special for them to get to see me in action and all these strong runners around me, so many first timers. That was really special. But let's talk about the Starlight Energy of CIM because here's my top recommendation for people is that you're going to catch a shuttle in downtown Sacramento. That's where I'll be catching a shuttle too. I like to park my car close to the finish line, hop on that, I believe it's 5 a.m. shuttle. Don't quote me on that time. Look it up in your race day emails. But catch that starting line shuttle to the starting line. And what's great about that bus is you can stay on the bus to stay warm once you're at the starting line. You can get off and go to the bathroom and come back on the bus because the bus is going to bring you to that starting line at about like 6 a.m. or a little bit before 6 a.m. And the race doesn't start until 7 a.m. I, as a pacer, will be lined up in our starting corral at about 20 minutes before the race starts. And that's when I recommend that runners are also getting in those corrals because you're going to have about, what is it, like 10,000 runners or so, CIM converging in Folsom for the CIM starting line, and the energy is just like electric. But I also understand that there's many people, especially those first-time marathoners, who are filled with so many nerves. So that's why I love proudly holding my 550 sign. Yes, that's right. In 2023, I believe, is that correct? I was moved from 6 hours to 550. No, that's incorrect. In 2024, I was moved from 6 hours to 550 because Scott Abbott, executive race director, and the board wanted to hold a stricter 6 hour cutoff due to their city permits. They needed to open up the roads and things like that. So I wanted to hold a stricter 6 hour cutoff. They moved me to 550 to provide a kind of a little buffer for people who might fall off of that pace time before the 6 hour sweepers come through. But I love holding my 550 sign in the starting area and shaking hands with people, giving them a hug, saying, what are your questions you have? Because I'm here to cheer you on for the next 5 hours, 50 minutes, all the way to that finish line. People come up to me and they say, like, can I really do this? Or I'm scared, I'm filled with all these nerves, but I love taking on those nerves, taking on that nervousness and just saying like, stick with me. Literally stick with me. We'll get you there to that finish line. I'm privileged. It's an honor to feel that responsibility of guiding people towards this marathon dream. Some people say it's my one and done, although there are many times people cross that marathon finish line and they're like, okay, I want more. I'm ready for more, because it's magical. It's so hard to explain it or to put it into words. It's magical. So that start line energy is my favorite, taking lots of selfies and just loudly proclaiming all runners count. Let's go. And then, of course, I talked about it before, but at the expo too, just getting to meet people who maybe they've been following my videos for a while. They've been listening to the podcast, they've been reading the blog, and now I get to meet them in person. Because that's so funny. People sometimes come up to me and they say, "Oh my goodness, I'm meeting you in person." But really it's for me too. Meeting you in person means the world to me. So come say hi. I'm just an everyday person by day. I'm a vice principal. I'm a mom to two little girls. I'm a wife. I'm a friend. I'm a daughter. I'm a sister. So I'm just like you. Come and say hi. I absolutely love it. Again, this year I'll be passing out my stickers. All runners count. Let's snap a picture and let's make it a weekend that both of us will never forget. Okay, so there you go. Top 7 minutes to represent my 7 times running the California International Marathon. And this year, 2025, my eighth time running CIM. I can hardly believe it. I'm just so thrilled. CIM this year, 2025, it'll be Lifetime Marathon 62. Can you believe that? I went from someone who used to say this body doesn't run to now someone who is about to finish their 60-second marathon. It's honestly so hard for me to believe. I was just so grateful. I'm grateful for what this body can do. I'm grateful for this community, this Run Strong Run community. All runners count. So grateful to be a part of CIM, the Sacramento Running Association, just filled with so much gratitude. And I'm so excited. It's seriously one of my favorite weekends of the entire year. I live a little bit north of Sacramento, but I call the CIM my hometown marathon. I cannot wait. Seriously, just so excited. What a great way to wrap up the year with this huge weekend. CIM has shaped me in ways I never saw coming. It's where I found my confidence, my purpose, my people, and my voice as someone who believes deeply that all runners count. So if you're running CIM this year, I'll be out there with my 550 sign, ready to help you chase whatever dream brought you to that start line. And if you're not running this year, maybe next year. Either way, thank you for being here. Thanks for listening to my stories, and thanks for letting me be a tiny part of your running journey. I can't wait to see you on the course.